Welcome back to another episode of Cheesesteaks with the classic and favorite guest known as Delco Daniel, formerly known as Delco Dan, formerly known as Big Double Deuce,
aka Big Dog,
aka Big Dog with the weird little hand.
Hey everybody, how are you?
But listen, Dan, I'm ready to take this podcast to the next level. I want people to know that this isn't just some bullshit podcast that everybody knows somebody's like, oh, we should start a podcast. They start a podcast and then they just talk about the bullshit that gets old after one or two episodes and they quit. But I want to talk about real things here.
Let's get real around here.
I do. And something I always wanted to ask you about, you know, we've done a lot of different little collaborations together, a lot of Uber rides, this, that, and the other. But, you know, I've always understood that you've had a history with addiction. And recently somebody asked me, in real life, I actually get a lot of messages about this, and somebody asked me this in real life, and I thought this would be a really cool thing to talk to you about, was, you know, are you comfortable talking about it? You know, the person who approached me, you know, struggled with addiction themselves and wanted to talk to you and was like, would that be weird if I asked them about it? Would it be, you know, rude or whatever it is? Is it sensitive or whatever? And I said to them, and something I've always known is that, like, I know you're always very open, always very willing to talk to things. And again, like, you know, for people outside of Delaware County, I don't think they understand what kind of place this is. As weird as it is, like, it's like this everybody knows everybody kind of thing. And even though I've never really talked to you about this, I've heard your story just because I know you talking to other people who struggle with addiction. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've heard you would go to rehab centers and treatment centers and give your testimony, so to speak. And I've heard bits and pieces of what that testimony is. And it's kind of funny because I've never talked to you about it, one, and two, I've always wondered this. I was driving somebody the other day who I know has a gambling problem.
Right.
So I don't talk about gambling with him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know people who are alcoholics. I make it a point not to drink beer around them, you know?
Yeah, no.
And so, like, with somebody who's struggled with addiction, I've always been kind of like, man, I wonder if I, you know, mention this, will this, you know, if I mention Kensington, is that a sore subject? If I mention, if I say I need an Advil, is he going to roll his eyes at me or something? You know what I mean? And like, I've just kind of always wondered, like, are there any trigger points or like things that people say or things that I might say that you're like maybe a little insensitive or you wish people didn't talk about for you personally? I know the answer is different for everyone.
Yeah, for me personally, not at all. I won't get offended or triggered really by anything anyone could ask me. As far as my relationship with addiction and drugs, I'm very open. I've always been very open with it and kind of, you know, wore it as a badge of honor, man, because, like, you know, Danny Malley is Danny Malley. You know, I'm not a drug addict. I'm not, you know, a sick person. You know, I'm not, you know, deficient. You know, I'm a person. I'm a person that has had struggles, and I'm completely okay with talking about them with anybody and giving any advice I could give on how, you know, what worked for me to get through it. You know, and so no, I mean, the answer is no. Anyone that comes to me, you know, I'd be willing to talk about my story, you know, by all means, and do anything I can to help the next person.
Now, when you're around other people that you know struggle with it as well, and again, it's tough to talk about because I know it's an individual thing, but like, do you catch yourself like being sensitive about saying certain things?
I think people tend to try to you know, not hurt a loved one and trigger them in certain ways in like an early recovery situation or somebody that's rather like in denial, you know. Sometimes, you know, I've had alcoholics in my family that, you know, maybe they don't know they're alcoholic or maybe they're functioning alcoholic, and, you know, you kind of don't want to be the one to tell them that, but, you know, sometimes you need to, I feel like, you know. It's a hard line, but in my opinion, I think it should be okay to talk about anything. You know, people might get offended, people might get triggered, but if it's going to save your life, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth talking about. If you ever have a suspicion that a loved one or a friend is using drugs, and you know, I think it's always important to talk about it right away.
Before we got started, we were talking about just how insane the opioid epidemic hit Delaware County. And I know people all across the country say this. And you had mentioned Kensington is, what did you say, the number one
open air drug market in the world. I mean,
it's just crazy to think about. You know?
I mean, you can literally, anyone can just walk up to almost any corner and buy any drug you could think of, any drug you could request. You can just walk up and buy it, and there's cops everywhere.
I drove through there the other day for Uber, and I was just like in shock. And like, I went to school at Temple. I lived off campus in North Philadelphia. Like, I've lived in the city for a couple years, and like, I'm by no means, like I always say, I'm more comfortable in a bad city neighborhood than in the sticks, because I'm scared to death of the sticks, man. Like, I hate nature. I hate when as long as someone can hear me scream, I figure I'll be okay. But, dude, I was shook. It was broad daylight. It was 1 o'clock in Kensington, broad daylight. Like you said, there were cops sitting there, and, like, it was just like, I don't even know how to describe it.
It's literally like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I mean, the drug and the degree of drugs that people are taking these days. I'm going to jog back a minute when we were talking about a second ago, like Delco and how it got hit by the opioid epidemic. Like, in 2002, 2003, Oxycontins became a thing in this neighborhood. And from then on, you know, and still now, I mean, the amount of people I could sit here and list are probably up in the 50s. You know, just of people I know personally
that have
that have died. You know, and anyone else, you're either, you know, families with an addict or an alcoholic, or you're in recovery yourself, or you're trying to be in recovery, or you're not, you know, or you're OD'd or in a rehab or in jail. And if it's not someone directly, it's, again, we said, like 2 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Like, someone knows everybody's struggling.
If you think you don't know somebody who has this problem currently or has struggled with it, then you just don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's either 1 or 2 degrees of separation. I guarantee you, somebody you know has either struggled with it or is struggling with it now.
That's the thing with opiates. You know, I think there's, you know, true addicts out there that are like an addict to the core, where, you know, if they take one, they obsess, and the phenomenon of craving comes in, and they can't not think about it. Now, with opioids, it's tricky because anyone could get hooked on them because there's a physical dependency that comes with it. And once you do it 3 times, I'll tell you what, my experience with opioids, when I tried painkillers in high school, I tried them a couple times, but not knowing that I was physically addicted after the 3rd, 4th time. You know, and that's what happens.
What do
and
you
that's
mean
what
by
gets
that? So like
then
you're at a party or something.
Yeah, well, I did one Monday, then I did one Friday, and then I did one Saturday, and then Sunday I woke up feeling sick. You know, and wondering what's going on. Not realizing, like, wow, you know, I'm with them now. And then I get another one because I'm feeling like shit.
Yeah.
And you're not knowing, and you know, you're 16, 17 years old, all of a sudden you're fully addicted to pills that cost $50 a piece.
Yeah.
You know, and that was you know,
crazy.
And it got to the point where, you know, you needed them. You know, and that's what was tricky with the opioid crisis, and why it killed so many of our friends. Literally, I've lost my brother, I've lost my best friend Doug, lost my best friend Mark Wortman, Billy O'Donnell, man, Kevin Foster, just the list goes on. Tracy brothers, Matt Tracy, all Springfield kids, Adams or Wackham. It's just, you know, nonstop. So yeah, man. So during the opioid epidemic, OxyContin took over. We all got addicted on them. My whole crowd got addicted on OxyContins, and they were $50 a pill. And we were all doing multiple pills a day, robbing, stealing, doing whatever we could to get money to get it. And when we couldn't feed that addiction no more, we had to go to heroin. And actually, when they took OxyContin off the market, I firmly remember not being able to get OxyContin anymore to the moment I first tried heroin. I remember first trying heroin because I couldn't get oxys anymore because they took them off the market because there's so many addicts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember what year that was around?
2008. I was about 20, 21.
So, and they took it off the market because of the problem.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You couldn't get OxyContin anymore, and they changed the pill to something that you couldn't snort. You know, and it ended up being called like Opanas or something. And we all couldn't get high off them, so we all started doing heroin.
Oh, so you would snort those pills.
And guess what? They've done it again. Heroin has now become fentanyl.
So explain that to me. So heroin's the street drug.
Heroin was a street drug that after oxys, all of us suburban white kids got hooked on oxys. They took oxys away. We all went to the cities and became hooked on heroin. That's the whole East Coast from Maine down to friggin' the Carolinas, man, all through the Appalachian Trail. That happened to all of us. You know, Boston, huge opioid epidemic. West Virginia, huge opioid epidemic. Philadelphia, huge opioid epidemic. Florida, huge opioid epidemic. The two biggest recovery capitals of America are Levittown and Delray Beach, Florida.
Levittown is like, what, an hour
Bucks
from
County,
yeah.
So that's what happened. So we all get hooked on heroin. A lot of people start dying. A lot of people get more and more strung out, progress further in their addiction, homeless, jails, rehabs. I've been in and out of 5 rehabs. I've spent 4 years in AA. I've spent 3 years going to NA. Then I just smoked pot. Then I tried to just drink. You know, I've done all different things in the past 10 to 15 years of my life, you know, to combat this battle, you know.
So from heroin, like when you say like now it's fentanyl.
So now it's fentanyl, right. So what I'm getting at is,
like when you say they did it again, like was there another drug?
Fentanyl's from China.
Yeah, it's not a pharmaceutical, right?
Fentanyl is a drug that was made in China, and it started coming over here in, I guess, 2012. You know, I started remembering it big time. Now, we were all on heroin, and all of a sudden, all of the places where we would get our drugs, it started transferring over into this really strong fentanyl, and everyone was dying because all of a sudden this fentanyl was getting into the heroin, and it was killing everybody. I've literally watched this happen to literally 10, 15 of my friends, where when fentanyl started coming around, people were dying left and right. Once, twice a week, people you knew were dying. And now, there's not even heroin left. I mean, the last time I used drugs like that, you can't find just heroin, you know. And I know the difference because back then it was brown. You know, you would do it as a brown drug, and you know, now it's all this like white, clear.
Oh wow!
Shit. So it's different shit. It's completely different. Completely different addiction. Fentanyl is 3 times, 5 times, 12 times, 99 times as strong.
Jeez.
Honestly, like I first on fentanyl, and it was a spec. I did a spec because I was that afraid of it, and I overdosed.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I woke up in a Wawa parking lot. I was choking on my vomit. Actually, I didn't wake up. I was found in a Wawa parking lot choking on my vomit in my car, and the ambulance came, got me. I woke up in the hospital. They were pumping my lungs out because I aspirated, and my lungs filled with fluid. I had like shit all over me. I was in the hospital for 8 days. One little speck, man.
And is that a result of like it being like a dirty speck? Like, is it? Like,
no,
is it laced with something like that?
No. Fentanyl is just that strong.
That was the first time you were doing it, and it was too much.
Yeah, it was just so strong. Fentanyl is that strong, and that's what I don't get is why would they ever make a drug that strong to where cops touch it in the what do you call it? Like where they keep all the shit they find. Yeah. Cop would like touch it and pass out.
I've heard,
you know what I mean? Like
that,
it's that powerful of a drug, and it's killed more people than AIDS, probably. You know, war.
Yeah.
Fucking opioid epidemic has killed more people, man, and more people close to home to me, man, and to these small communities in and around our cities, just taking us out in record-breaking numbers.
Is fentanyl's an opioid, right?
Fentanyl, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, on steroids.
I remember reading a story about fentanyl when it was hitting Philadelphia. Somebody was interviewed and they were like, look, there's a batch around that's going to kill you if you smoke it. And the person being interviewed was like, I need my fix. Like, I don't care. Man. I'm taking my chance.
This is true. When I was actively using with, guys that got high and all, and when we would hear about a certain bag that was killing people, that literally our brains, that's what we would want, because we would want the stronger shit, because fentanyl, you get sick so quick from it that, like, what you used to get high off for 8 hours now lasts you 2 hours, and it's like you're literally feeding a way bigger addiction now. Like, heroin was just as horrible, just as bad, didn't claim as many lives as fentanyl, though. Yeah. And fentanyl literally deteriorates you to nothing. I know experience from being on heroin and being on fentanyl, and I've withdrawn and detoxed from both drugs at different times in my life. And, I'll tell you, fentanyl really steals your soul from you. That's why these people are down there, like, not even in themselves.
Yeah.
It's a different
really
thing.
Is like The Walking Dead.
It is. It's like The Walking Dead. And, just the deterioration physically is way stronger, way quicker than back when there was just heroin around.
And is that?
And I'm not advocating for any drug to be back, or I'm not saying let's bring back heroin, but seriously, fucking let's bring back heroin, because fentanyl is killing everybody. What the fuck? My dad said that the other day. He said, Danny, there was a time where you would hear about overdoses, but you guys were living. The heroin, you would live through your overdoses. Yeah. Now you're fucking all dead. And it's the truth. And so many of us are dead.
Now, is fentanyl, like, the deterioration, is that whatever the drug does to you? Obviously, I'm sure it's not good for your system. But
here's the other thing,
too. It's just a matter of, like,
cartels and people adding other shit into it. There's fentanyls coming here from China and Mexico. That's, this is what I know, based on my experiences. And then people are getting it and putting in fucking different drugs. Yeah. Putting K2 in it, putting battery acid in it. Oh, one time I was arrested for heroin, and the cop that arrested me said, the bags that you're doing, we tested them a month ago, and there's battery acid in it. Yeah. So it's like literally putting God knows what in your body. I'm grateful to be here.
Here I thought, I was like, oh, maybe they're just so focused on the addiction they don't eat and drink as much as they should, which I'm sure is part of it. That's true. But I didn't account for battery acid.
Yeah, dude.
Holy shit.
Yeah, man. Seriously. Elephant tranquilizer. Literally, fentanyl is like, they find elephant trank in it. When you see people nodding so hard, falling asleep, that's elephant tranquilizer in the shit they're shooting up. And I'm an extremely rare, lucky case to be sitting here and have been through some of that shit. Extremely lucky, because all my friends and again, we were all good kids. We all went to school. We all played sports. We all had good families. We weren't destined to be bad people. We just got caught up, having fun and not knowing what was about to happen with the drugs we were messing with.
Yeah.
What,
bringing back to, like, the 3 times you were physically addicted, like, do you remember the first time?
I remember when I first got addicted to Percocet, thinking, like, man, this kind of sucks, but it was still kind of like, I was naive to how long it would last. I thought, like, all right, well, I'm not going to do them forever, but they're fun, and I like taking them at work because I work really hard, and it's kind of makes the day go quicker.
Is that when you started at work? Like,
after high school. The first couple times I did Percocet were in high school. I got them off people. Shit, we know. Doesn't even matter. But as just like a experimental thing, And then,
was it like a party scene?
No, it was just like a
fucking around.
Yeah, people that dabbled with other things, smoking pot with other people, and this guy's got this, and then you try that, and then you enjoy it. You do it on a Friday night, do it again Saturday, Then you wake up Sunday, you feel like shit, hungover. Let me get one more, and then you just are doing them because it's fun.
Yeah.
And you know, high school sucks, work sucks.
Right.
And then you fucking don't have them, and you feel like shit. And the only thing you can think of doing is getting one, you know. And it's fucking.
So high school, you were just kind of fucking around, but it kind of
I didn't
heavily start until you were working. After
19, I was fully addicted on perks.
And that was a result of taking them after work?
That was a result of just dabbling in them, taking them at work.
Oh, so it was like a slippery slope. Like, it was never like, I'm fucking aching from work, I need one every day. It was just like, I'll take one here or there. Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah. Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, it's nuts. And then, you know, they just made you feel so good. It was hard not to want that. And then when you don't have it, you have to get it.
Yeah.
You know? And it sucks, too, because the whole time you're doing it, your tolerance is getting bigger, and it's costing you more money.
Yeah.
You know? Now the 2 you were doing aren't doing it, and you got to do 4.
Yeah.
You know, and that $20 went to $40, and then in another 3 weeks, it's going to be to $60.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're done. And, you know, I know this right now. If I put an opioid in my body ever again, it could set off a trigger that, you know, I always tell doctors right away, like, you know, do not give me any narcotics.
Yeah.
No opiates.
Well, that's exactly why I'm like, you know, always a little wary with any sort of addiction to, like, you know, obviously taking it would be one thing, but if you say something, it's like I mentioned, like being sensitive to the guy who I drove who gambles.
Right.
He said he was like, he was working for somebody and they wanted to give him the company card. Yeah. And he was like, I can't take your company card. Or no. It was, they wanted in a company, you know, like a football pool. You know how they do those like block pools?
Yeah.
He's like, I can't even put in $5 for this because if I put in $5 for the block pool, I will have the company card maxed out by midnight. You know, like, and that's the kind of thing
that's
where I'm
awesome awareness on his part.
Yeah. And that this guy, I know this because this guy was a lot like you, and I honestly really appreciate it because like I have my vices too, and gambling's definitely one of them. And talking with him is like, it makes me just kind of check myself before, just obviously before it gets to the point. And that's why I appreciate, and I think it's so great when someone can be so open and talk about it.
I think it's important to be open.
Oh, it's so important.
Get rid of the stigma, man. There's so much stigma around addiction, and like we were saying, like, a lot of people may not realize it, but they know somebody who's a drug addict or an alcoholic or some sort of addict. Yeah. You know, rather. So it's not. And I will say this, man. I think more than that, it's like, you know, I don't really consider myself a drug addict. You know, I'm a person that has trauma. You know, I struggle with, you know, anxiety. I struggle with, you know, some depression and anger, and I struggle with emotions, man. Yeah. You know, and you know, again, like I'm a victim of different traumas in my life and seeing a lot of things. I think, you know, getting in touch with who we are and working on our inner self and getting in touch with some higher power, man, is the key for addicts. For people that are constantly trying to fill up a missing piece in their life, or, you know, whatever they're running from with the drug, and people that are constantly just, you know, trying to numb, you know, whatever they're running from, just hide. I think the higher power, man, getting a conscious contact with some sort of faith, you know, is the only thing that can fill that hole. You know, is having.
Do you see that as a common underlying thread for addicts? Is, you know, they're trying to numb something or
oh my God, I think every addict is at some degree somebody dealing with some sort of trauma, some sort of mental disorder that they're not even aware of, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and this day and age, why there's so many addicts too, you know, has a lot to do with, you know, the drugs that they're pumping into these towns. In the 90s, like the wave of, you know, prescription narcotics just became so overwhelming. Yeah. You know? And it just was in all of our cabinets, you know? So we're teenagers wanting to get on. You just open the cabinet,
Do you think a lot of, like, when you were teenagers, like when you were dabbling, did a lot of that come from, like, the
Like,
medicine cabinet, parents'
yeah,
medicine cabinets,
yeah,
or was a lot of
yeah.
it from the street?
No, I think in the beginning, a lot of it, like most of it, started from the medicine cabinets and taking it from friends' parents, or or maybe there was a kid that was prescribed something for an injury in football, or or even for bipolar. Or, we were doing Xanax a lot, doing benzos, diazepines. We were doing them all the time in high school, and they just make you forget any inhibitions or morals you got, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that always not scared me, but I always thought was wild about heroin. So the what do you call him? Principal investigator, the lead doctor at my treatment research center. He always talked about how the difference with an opioid addiction, is that it's physical. The reason Kensington's so bad and an opioid addict is so, I don't want to say dangerous, but like is willing to steal and do whatever to get money, to get drugs, is because like the physical pain that comes from a withdrawal is like unmatched.
There's only one thing to fix it, and that's to use.
Yeah.
And that is the most dangerous evil I've ever seen. Is opioids. I mean, holy shit. You literally will. Never in my life would I want to steal from anyone for that matter, let alone my family. And the pain from withdrawal from opioids literally has made me steal from people I love, with no thought of it.
Yeah.
Because I had to. It's like, and that is dangerous. It's a dangerous place.
It made me kind of reshape my perspective on a place like Kensington, where, like, typically a lot of people are like, oh, that's the result of drugs. And it's like, yeah, technically, yeah, but
that's the result of untreated trauma.
What it's the result of is people trying to avoid a withdrawal.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, the
ultimately,
reason that neighborhood's the shit, the reason things get stolen, and the reason, you can't park your car down there is because there's people trying to avoid withdrawal. The 18-year-old Dan Malley that was, dabbling, he wasn't in Kensington breaking into cars. You know what I mean? It's somebody who is trying to avoid withdrawal, that's willing to do whatever in order to, and it really made me like rethink like the way you look at a place like that, and like, kind of
the people there, and why they're
exactly
doing that.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you this from experience: you usually don't get to Kensington until you've really lost any other connection, or like, for me, once I made it to Kensington and was doing drugs regular in that area, it's because I either robbed everyone around here, the dealers around here didn't have strong enough drugs, and or I robbed them. I couldn't go on certain streets around here because those dealers knew that I stole from them. And for most people I knew, and for most people I've experienced in that world, when you get to Kensington, you're either on your way to being homeless or already homeless and not looking back. And nowadays it's very few and far between people make it out of there. I seen a buddy of mine the other day, and we're both doing well and made it out of that lifestyle. And I literally looked at him. I was like, damn, dude, can you believe we made it out of that shit? Because again, we were just regular kids that went to CCD and played sports and fucking, graduated high school and, wanted to, be a lawyer. Whatever. We're just, for real.
Delco Dan Esquire.
Yeah, But, I'm proud of who I am today. And I never shy away from talking about my past or things I've been through. I've lived in recovery houses, man. I've met amazing people. I've spoken rehabs. I've spoken at high schools. I've told my story. I was in AA working a 12-step program. I was in NA working a 12-step program. I'm not at the moment. I love both programs. I think they work. I know they work. They've worked in my life. They work in a lot of my friends' lives. you know, my relationship with addiction is different today. And I can tell you that it's definitely taken a lot of people I love from me. But it's definitely given me perspective and gratitude for the life I have now. I have a very healthy respect and gratitude for simple things in life. It doesn't take me much to be grateful to be here, because I quite really mean it when I say, like, I'm truly grateful just to be here. Yeah. Like the fact that I'm healthy, you know, and have a job and people that love me in a home, you know, and cheesesteaks, you know, like I'm grateful for small shit today. And there was a time in my life that I took that stuff for granted and didn't realize, you know, how fortunate people are. You know, I literally thought today, damn it, it's so nice to not wake up and be dope sick and go to work.
Really?
I love going to work, not dope sick, and being able to like work. I remember going to work and being so uncomfortable, so cold, but sweating, that like I couldn't even move in my shirt because it was just so uncomfortable on your skin. It just crawls. And damn, dude, it's just beautiful to wake up and to be okay and like not fucking hungover and like, holy shit, oh, I feel like hell. You know, or how am I going to get to noon so I can skip out of work for an hour, grab heroin, come back and finish my day?
Yeah.
You know, that was the monotony, dude. They say, like, heroin's harder than any fucking job in the world. You work from sun up to sundown, you know, just trying to get another one. It's fucked up. But I don't have to live like that no more.
Well, I'm proud of you too, man. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation about like, it's one of the reasons why I'm like sensitive, so to speak. Like, I don't want to ever trigger anything because I know how rare it is and I know how amazing it is to be in that life and come out of it. And
I say too, I feel bad for alcoholics, man, because you know, somebody that's like a real alcoholic where
that's the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Damn, every billboard in America's got
watch TV.
Cold Bud Light. Fucking,
you can't watch TV without a commercial,
man.
You know? And again, it's one of those things where it really makes you think about how you got driving Uber, dude. I see this all the time. Like, I don't know if I could ever go sober forever. Like, I'm a social drinker.
Sure.
But drive Uber, man, I'm like, I see what alcohol does to people. And like, I know I've been there too. And I'm like, why does anybody subject themselves to this? And you see, like you said, it's on every billboard. It's a legal drug when marijuana isn't. And, you know, the opioid epidemic started from legally prescribed drugs. And I'm just kind of like, dude, at the end of the day, you got to remember, like, you're looking out for your best interest and no one else is. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be wary of, like, just because the government's doing it or it's on TV doesn't just because it's legal. Just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's good. You know what I mean?
Man. Yeah.
Even like, dude, you read freaking what's in I don't know, a Skittles pack. You know what I mean? Like, you got some chemicals in there. Like, man, what the hell am I putting in my body?
You don't take everything for what it's.
You know what I'm saying? Man. It's just kind of like, no, but
be critical. Make sure you always be critical. I agree. You got to be realistic too. With like, things are gonna pop up, and you need to be spiritually sound, man. You know, addiction and alcoholism, man, in my belief, is a spiritual condition. That's a spiritual condition, man. It's like, this is good that I just remembered this because I wanted to bring that up. For me, the worse my addiction got, the worse things I would do. You know, my behaviors became worse. I treated people I loved worse. So with that, with those bad decisions, with, you know, being on the drug and then doing bad things to get the drug, you literally kill your spirit. You know, the essence of you, that good nature in you, goes away and gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, man. You know, that's like they preach that in the program, and it's a spiritual condition. And the only way to fix it is to, you know, do spiritual work. You know, is to work on yourself. And you know, I believe that there's a higher power. You know, I don't know what that is. I call it Jesus. For anyone out there, you know, believe whatever you can. Believe in anything you can, because, you know, there is something out there working in our lives, man. And if you need to build your spirit, you know, pray. You know, do selfless acts. You know. Anyway, spiritual work. So in that sense. So when I was deteriorating, doing, you know, negative things, man, when I had to come back, you know, when you're trying to get clean, when you come back in the world, man, you got to stay spiritually sound and work on yourself. You know, continue to do right, continue to, you know, right your wrongs and do good things, because if you start slipping in them bad behaviors again and doing wrong things, you start killing that spirit. It's so much easier to pick up.
Yeah.
You know,
everything's growing or dying.
Yeah.
And you're saying build that spirit.
Right. Yeah.
The second it starts dying.
It's like the two wolves. You know, you got two wolves inside you fighting, man. Which one are you feeding?
Right,
you got the dark one and the light one, man. You can't exist without the other.
Listen, dude, I could have this conversation. I could turn this into a Joe Rogan podcast.
Could
talk about this for 3 hours, but I'd run out of gas. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
But you know, I hope to have you back on, talk about
anything.
this subject more.
Yeah, whatever subject.
And other subject too. But I feel like there's so much we can talk about this, and I'm excited. I know this kind of conversation reaches people that really need to hear it. You know, even if it reaches, you know, 10 people and 5 of them are struggling.
Listen, we're only here to reach the one that needs it.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. You're just saying it better. Final words, you got it.
Yeah. So if anybody out there is struggling with addiction or dabbling in anything that they don't think they should be, dude, learn from my mistakes. If I could go back to my teenage self, I would never pick up the drugs I did. And I would do everything that I was afraid to do. You know, I would go do theater. I would, you know, make sure I played varsity football my senior year. You know, I would have made sure I would do the things that I was afraid to do and fulfilled my life with good spiritual shit. You know, and I'll say this too. It's never too late to change. I don't care how hooked you are. I don't care how deep it is. I don't care how many people you think you're going to upset. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Believe in yourself. Get a fucking day. God bless. Stay strong. Sweet on.
Let's go eat some cheesesteaks.
Cheesesteak up.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Thanks for sharing that, man.